All right, well, we're about to jump into some two-step equations. But first, since tonight was our first football game and today was our first pep rally, I wanted to show you a throwback from when I was in middle school and I was in cheer. You can't see that very well. Oh man. Okay, maybe if I turn off the light, it will help. Yes. So this was our cheer squad when I was this is 8th grade. So you could see here, this is me. Guess who this is? Yes, that is your counselor, Miss Gore. She and I are good friends and we cheered together. So some of your parents may know some of these people. This is Miss Mo's sister, Emma, next to me. And then there are several people in there that some of y'all might also know. But I just wanted to throw that back there just to add a little fun. But let's say go Raiders and let's get down to the business. And the business tonight is adding on to what we did last night, which is solving one-step equations. We're going to take it another step today. We're going to do a little two-stepping. Nope, not going to do the giddy up challenge or get up challenge or whatever it's called tonight. But I will use my Raider colors to show some spirit. So let's go ahead and write down some notes. When solving equations, we are undoing what has been done to x, or whatever variable we're using. We almost always undo addition and subtraction before what are other two things? Yep, multiplication and division. When working forward, we follow PEMDAS, which you know is the order of operations. But since we're undoing, we usually work, and I say usually, you'll find out why on Thursday or Wednesday night, tomorrow night. We usually work backwards. Actually, you probably won't find out until Thursday night. And PEMDAS backwards is kind of funny. Sad MEP. Hee hee. Okay, so we don't use PEMDAS, we use sad MEP. It's funny. All right, so let me show you how this works. So I'm going to give you an example. (3x plus 6 equals 24). Okay, so remember in class, I want you to always ask yourself, how do I get x by itself? Well, in this case, we have to remove the plus 6 to it because that's attached by addition, and the 3 that's also attached to it by multiplication. So we have to do the inverse operations, which would be subtracting when we add and dividing when we multiply. So what you're going to do here, the first thing we're going to do is we're always is going to undo addition and subtraction. So right here we have plus 6. So we want to get that off first. So we're going to subtract 6 from each side of the equal sign. Okay, so step 1, subtract 6. And that was only because we were adding. That's the opposite. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure what that would be. This is, of course, 0. It cancels out. This is going to be 18. All right, so now we're left with, over here, we have a 3x equals 18. So this is where your second step comes in. Your second step is to get rid of the multiplication and division. So now we have 3 is attached to this x by multiplication. So we want to divide that off to get that 3 off the x and send it over here to this side where the numbers are. So if we have to do that, you have to do it to both sides. What you do to one side, you got to do the other. So we're going to do, our second step is to divide by 3, because 3 is the number attached to the variable. So this over here cancels out and you're just left with x, which is so happy. That's what we want. X is by itself. Yes. Okay, and right here we just have to solve. 18 divided by 3. This is your divisor. Means divided by. 18 divided by 3 is, yes, it is 6. So now we are left with x equals 6. And guess what? That is your answer. Now, what did I teach you last night? You can always go back in and check it with the original problem. So if I do that up here, I'm going to take my original problem, 3 times x, I'll put my x in just a second, plus 6 equals 24. Here's my x, 6. So now we do order of operations regularly because we're checking it. 3 times 6 is 18 plus 6. Does that equal 24? Yes, it does. We were right. So that helps us to solve. You just did a 2-step. So if you want to get up and do a little 2-step dance, you just did your first 2-step. Let's do another one. (5x minus 10 equals 20. So what do we do first? Undo addition and subtraction before, so this is our first step, multiplication and division, which is our second step. So we have some subtraction here. So we're going to need to add, that's the inverse to subtraction. We're going to add that 10 to both sides. And this makes that 0, cancels out. That's great. We can bring this down here now because all we have left on this side is a 5x. And then over here, we just add these together and you have 5x equals 30. Well, now we have to go to step 2, multiplication and division. So we got to get this 5. He's stuck to the x by what? Multiplication. You're right. So we have to do the inverse. We're going to need to divide both sides by 5. That cancels out. You're just left with x. And 30 divided by 5 is 6. X equals 6. We could plug that back in. To check it, put 6 in here. This would be 30. 5 times 6 minus 10. Does that equal 20? Yes, it sure does. Good job. Let's do one more example. One more. 3 equals 9x plus 3. Okay, don't be concerned and freak out when you see that the x's are on this side of the equal sign instead of over here like they were in our other examples. You don't do anything differently. You will be okay. We do the same steps in the same order. So the first thing we need to do is look to see what is added or subtracted to this x. Can you tell me what it is? What's added or subtracted to the x term? 3. Yes, it's a 3. So we need to subtract 3 from both sides of the equal sign. So I drew my line here to just show us the different sides of the equal sign. So we don't ever subtract from the x term because it's not a number. It's a different term. It's an x term. So only subtract from the numbers. So that's why we didn't subtract 3 from the 9x. So 3 minus 3, well, that's 0. It cancels out. You're left with 9x. 3 minus 3, well, guess what? Also 0, but that's okay. Don't freak out. So now we're left with 0 equals 9x. Even though this is weird, I want you to go to your next step. Multiplication and division. What is being multiplied or divided here? Well, we have a 9 multiplied to the x. It's sticking it onto that x. So we're going to need to divide that 9 off. But what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. Sorry about that scratch out I did earlier. Erase that just so it's no confusion. Okay, so now we have these cancel out. You're just left with x. Oh gosh, guys, I'm sorry. Didn't know you couldn't see that. You're just left with x. And then 0 divided by 9, any number, 0 divided by any number is 0. It's 0. And before you freak out saying, I got 0, well, let's check it. There's always a way we can check it. We're going to plug that in to our original equation. So 3 equals 9 times whatever number we get plus 3. So what did we get for the x? We got 0. We're going to plug that in here. So 9 times 0 is 0 plus 3 is 3. Does 3 equal 3? Yes, it does. This is true. So guess what? You've mastered the two-step. I don't know if that's going to help your dancing game any, but we're a little late for that since we just had our dance last week. But now you can tell the ladies in your life, whether that be your mom or somebody else, that you know how to two-step like a boss. So I'll see you tomorrow. We'll keep two-stepping in class. Have a good night.